Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. On behalf of Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation, I would extend our sincere thanks and gratitude to organizer for having us. I take this opportunity to congratulate Purple Feminist Group, especially to Nanda, for hosting such a historical event in Global South. Let's approach to Purple Feminist Group and Nanda. Both are the great source of inspiration to me and I'm sure for many of us. A personal note, it is my great honor and privilege to speak as a keynote speaker to break the barriers and building bridges for menstrual dignity. Since I confirmed my keynote speech with Nanda, I kept thinking and I got stuck with few questions as follow. Number one, are we, means activists, academia, donors, CSOs, etc., seriously looking for the underlying barriers? Number two, are we really looking for the tangible tools to break these barriers and to build the bridges? Seriously and honestly, my answer is no. That doesn't mean I'm super pathetic. There is a logical path or number of reasons behind my claiming for no. Today, miserably, the home is not a safe place at all. I believe that you all remember the UN Secretary General's statement on shadow pandemic for domestic violence in 2021. What is the underlying cause for such a shadow pandemic? In other words, why and how does the home become a factory of domestic violence or invisible conflict or a state of disempowerment? The sex selective abortion, negligence in rearing and caring, bad touch, sexual, verbal, physical abuses, forced and child marriage, rape, delay in seeking quality health care, intimate partner violence, discrimination in property rights, unequal pay, indecent work, discrimination in death rituals, etc., are the common and reported forms of violence throughout the life cycle of menstruators at home and community globally. I do ask a question, what is the driver of such manifested shadow pandemic? I know that you all agree with me, the more than half of the population of this planet born with uterus and ovaries. It means that they menstruate and menopause except few medical conditions. Regardless to sex, class, caste, religion, education, region, etc., they experienced taboos, shyness, stigma, abuses, restrictions, and deprivation from services and resources that associated with menstrual perception and practices at home, school, community, and everywhere, including parliament, at various forms, names, and magnitude globally. Such menstrual perception and practices play a pivotal role to create unequal power relation between people who have uterus and ovaries and who have not. In other words, between menstruators and non-menstruators. That unequal power relation takes place at home when the girls and boys are in between the ages of 6 to 9 years. Girls said to menstruate, though they do not only knew all do and do not for and to menstruation, but also considered as powerless, impure, inferior, and disadvantaged. Meanwhile, boys have not had anything to do, means they started to consider themselves as pure, powerful, superior, and privileged. Without having any educational degree, professional positions, on property, build muscle, or any identity, boys become special or powerful. Here, the unequal power construction takes place at home. Do we acknowledge this fact while working for gender equality or human rights or women empowerment or feminism? Consequently, meanwhile, the patriarchy reinforced. Not only boys, but also the girls and rest of the society started to see them special, which means institutionalize the patriarchy. This is how the vicious circle of unequal power relation and patriarchy formed and operating for generation to generations. Thus, mostly the menstruators converted as a victim and non-menstruators converted as a perpetrators. Therefore, we all are perpetrators for making boys violent. They are not born as a violent. We never teach them that they born from the menstrual blood. If we were, they could socialize with gratitude and gratitude towards the menstruators and holding the accountability for preventing sexual and gender-based violence. Instead of breaking the deep silence and ignorance around menstruation, we are busy for othering or blaming to culture, religion, poverty, politicians, faith healers, etc., and creating a deep and dark fear at home, at school, community, parliament, and everywhere. Sadly, we are waiting for leaders to disclose such barriers within ourselves. The answer is very simple and clear. That is discriminatory menstrual practice or menstrual discrimination, which is globally practiced in various forms, names, and magnitude in all diverse settings. No one can imagine the place without the people who have uterus and ovaries. Wherever they are, they experience discrimination related with daily activities before, during, and after the menstruation, like which food allowed to have and which not. Likewise, where should go or move, and where should not, and where should touch and where should not, and what should talk about, and what should not talk about menstruation. Whatever the practice is not just exploded as like COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, no. Discriminating menstrual practices have been placed in this planet since the time of Homo sapiens. Regrettably, we globally missed to unfold such practices and its impact on social, political, economical, environmental, technical realm of the society from an individual to UN level and vice versa. Few of you may disagree with me and claim that you have been working on human rights since 1948. Yes, this is very true. But I do ask again, is there any clause or strategy or movement where the menstrual practices analyzed and addressed as a form of violation of the human rights? No, no systematically. All born with menstruation, but they fail to hold accountability and express gratitude on their existence. The mockery of few of my friends raised off and thinking about CEDAW is a first women's human rights instrument since 1979. Let me ask you a question again. Which article considered the menstrual discrimination is underlying barrier for gender equality or violation of human rights? Sadly, such complex and multifaceted menstrual discrimination dismissal by pointing with traditional harmful practices. How dare you are to call menstrual discrimination is a traditional harmful practice? Is this menstrual discrimination associated with particular group or place? Of course not. Often I notice that many of us in confusion on what makes first in between gender norms and menstrual practice. Till now, our documents claim that gender norms construct the menstrual practice. Is this really true? Do you forget the story of role of menstrual practice in construction and shape of power and patriarchy? Yes, therefore, menstrual practice construct the gender norms and applies throughout of our lives in all levels and sectors. Thus, without debunk the menstrual discriminatory practices, we could not deconstruct the gender norms. I observed that many participants here joining from extensive work experience on sexual and gender-based violence. You may think that I'm telling lie or I'm manipulative. Yes, since 1993, we all worked hard and invest a lot of energy for eliminating sexual and gender-based violence. Unfortunately, we all miss to account the menstrual discrimination is not only a form of sexual and gender-based violence, but also cause and effect for various forms of sexual and gender-based violence, including child marriage. Are you still doubt on me? Let me give a simple example. Provision of watering to flower or hiding menstrual product during menstruation or menopausal bleeding is very common practice in many cultures globally. Here, a set of human rights violated at one such age right to dignity, right to equality, right to freedom, right to mobility, right to education, etc. According to UN's SDGs definition, in these examples, at least two kinds of SDGs observed. They are emotional and denial of resources. I also noticed that few of my participants disagreeing with me because they are working around SRHR and comprehensive sexual education for years. They claim that they are working for menstrual dignity. Sorry, friends, you are working for anatomy and physiology. Just a second. What happened? Is it? Am I listening? Am I audible? Oh, sorry. I thought there is a technical problem. Sorry, friends, you are working on anatomy and physiology of menstruation or partly menstrual management, but not working for dismantling dozens of menstrual discriminating practices. Today, each of you so busy for implementing sustainable development goals. It is very sad. Even the SDGs missed out menstrual discrimination. I can give a guarantee that the menstrual discrimination is a barrier for more than 9 SDGs. Let me give an example for SDG 8, decent work. If your workplace and policy won't be dignified, menstruation friendly, how a person who is menstruating or perimenopausal symptoms could work in dignified manner? Could you imagine the suffering struggle of 70% women are involved in informal sector, or 70% female health workers who are working as a frontliner health workers? Now, the climate justice is popular again, and the role of the menstrual discrimination is missing. Therefore, the efforts for climate justice is becoming another form of rhetoric intervention for intervention. It means the most of the menstruators experience systemic and symptomatic negative impact of menstrual discrimination. I know many of you claim that you have been touched upon the barriers through the free distribution of menstrual products, reduction of tax for menstrual products, or construction of the toilet. Such menstrual products, toilet or water supply are important elements, but not address the multifaceted and complex nature of menstrual discrimination, which is facing by each menstruators, especially in Global South. Have our gender responsive or gender equality and social inclusion policies addressed the discrimination of menstruation and menopause? No. Unfortunately, UN is the main misleading institution for not breaking the barriers and building the bridge. Global community has already midway for SDG implementation, and without any hesitation, I can say it won't go much further because we are missing menstrual discrimination as problem or dignified menstruation as a solution. Till now, the global community achieved only 15% SDG so far. Therefore, let's shout out to UN, INGOs, every funders and actors for not only listening the stories of leaders from Global South, but also acknowledge their leadership. Let's shifting the funds and resources toward the Global South for research, for projects, and also don't fall in trap with elites lead NGOs at Global South at the name of the professional proposals and reports. In Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation, there are many organizations are associated from Asia and Africa for dignified menstruation, but they don't have funds at all. Let's focus our energy to change the narrative around menstruation and gender equality. Let's work for dignified menstruation and innovative, holistic, feminist approach for gender equality, for examining the menstrual practices as a life cycle approach through the human rights lens. Let's unite for dignified menstruation as building bridges, and let's make our home, school, community, workplace, prison, restaurants, hotels, industries, cinema halls, banks, hospitals, camps of securities, refugees, migrants, shelters, and everywhere for every menstruators, including disability, transgender, pandemics, disaster, and everywhere dignified for all menstruators and non-menstruators. Let's unite and make a call for action to UN for adopting 8th December as a dignified menstruation day. I conclude my keynote speech to appeal for marking the 8th December 2023 is a 5th International Dignified Menstruation Day for saving its menstruators and this planet. The information regarding to marking the 5th International Dignified Menstruation Day is available in the Global South Coalition for Dignified Menstruation social sites in multiple languages like English, Spanish, French, and Nepali. Once again, thank you so much for joining and providing this opportunity. Wishing you all have a wonderful conference. I do thank you.